Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast, Retro Life for You. My name is Chris Adams, host of the show. We have this week with us again Travis Rollins,
Whoop, whoop.
and we are part two of Lord of the Rings. We're going with the Two Towers tonight. We're going to break that down, talk to you about it, tell you what we like about it, if we don't like something about it.
Ooh,
But there's
yeah.
not very much that we don't like about it. I'm going to tell you.
Yeah.
So,
I can't think of nothing.
no, Travis here has watched this movie. I thought I'd watched it a lot. No, Travis has watched it a cajillion billion times more than myself.
Probably, maybe.
I'm pretty
I
sure he's an official hobbit. He's got his own place in the Shire.
Yeah, you should see these feet, bro.
I'm telling you, he can walk on anything.
Hmm. Yeah, I watched these movies legit. I watched the entire, not just LOTR. Like I watched Lord of the Rings, the extended editions, and the Hobbit extended editions. I guarantee you quarterly, and more, even more some of them, because a lot of times I'll just put one on and have it playing in the background. So
So I was
I
telling
watch a
Travis
lot.
here this past week. I've been watching or rewatching the Hobbit trilogy that they have, and I can't help but think about this funny scene from the movie where Legolas has met Gloin, which is Gimli's father,
Oh my gosh.
and he's picked up his pictures off of him. He says, "Who is this?" "That's my wife," he says. "Well, who's this gangly looking creature?"
Yeah.
"That's my son Gimli."
He called him a mutant.
Yeah,
A
gangly
mutant.
looking mutant.
Yeah.
And then years later, they're friends and everything, So I find
Crazy.
it funny every time I think about it. The humor they give you from that, the Hobbit thing, and the foreshadowing coming up. If they had done those movies first, can you imagine how great? I mean, it's great anyway. We got
Right.
the prequels to go back to and watch and appreciate. But can you imagine how great it would have been? If we had gotten the story of the Hobbit trilogy first and then went forward with it. The only problem is with that happening, we probably wouldn't have had, the Viggo Mortensen for Aragorn, and we may not have had some of the same people. Is what I'm trying to say that make it how we love it today.
Right. Right. And then we wouldn't have had one of my favorite memes in the world too. We wouldn't have had Agent what's his name sitting in front of the dude that stole the vibranium, and then Frodo sitting in front. I mean Bilbo sitting in front of Gollum. So
Yep, yep. It's funny how they come together in another movie years later. Some people are like, "Who are these two guys? They're very talented people." Well, that's
right.
Gollum right there on the right.
And it's,
He's busy not telling Bilbo there about his precious that he's trying to steal.
yeah.
Or better yet, he's looking at Bilbo going, "What's in its pockets?" Is
What's in his pockets is precious.
uh, uh, it's from The Hobbit. In case you haven't seen The Hobbit, people, from The Hobbit, go back and watch them all. Watch them
Right.
all. Enjoy it. Also, Two Towers, Travis. The Two Towers movie picks up where the Fellowship left off, where um, we have Frodo and Sam have taken off in one direction on their own to take the ring to Mordor. Pippin and Merry have been captured by the orcs, and Aragorn, Gimli, and Legolas have fought successfully against the orcs, trying to ward them off. And they're gone, but they realize now they've taken off with Merry and Pippin, and they have to go track them down and rescue them if they can. So uh, we pick up there, and like I was just discussing with you, and the movie starts off, I believe, with it panning through the mountains, as you said, and we can hear the voice of Gandalf like he's fighting the Balrog.
Yeah, kind of just reverberating off of the mountain, just like an
Right,
echo.
right.
Flame of Udun.
So it's going through all this, and then you see where he has yelled at the infamous "You shall not pass," and he slams the staff down. The bridge breaks. The Balrog falls. You think he's gone. He whips the
Right.
whip back up, catches Gandalf on the leg, and pulls him down. So run, you fools! And he gets yanked down in the hole. So now, what we're
He
seeing now, instead of seeing the
chokes
hobbits and the
away.
rest of them leaving, we're seeing him going down the abyss, And as he reaches a certain point, there's a sword falling down there too. I guess it was his, and he grabs the sword.
Glamdring. That sword's
Yep,
name is Glamdring.
Glamdring, and he grabs Glamdring and starts aiming it downward and
Fighting
fighting with the Balrog as they're
Durin's
falling.
Bane was the Balrog's name.
So
Which
suddenly,
is
I
funny
believe it
because
was.
that harkens back to the way that Tolkien intertwined everything too. But so the Balrog that he fought's name was Durin's Bane.
Hmm.
But now you're just been watching the Hobbit trilogy,
Yeah,
the halls of
the halls,
Durandal.
the halls of Durin, the
And so
sons of
Durin was,
Durin.
yeah, exactly. So it comes back. So when they left Moria, so they lived in Moria. So Durin was the king in Moria, and that's why he's Durin's Bane because he destroyed. He's basically their Smaug. He came in, destroyed him, and took their home.
Yeah. And another thing I like about the Hobbit, to kind of veer off a little bit, since we're talking about the names of the weapons, you
Hmm.
see where they get these weapons at,
Yes.
where Bilbo gets Sting and where um, Gandalf gets his as well. I mean,
Hmm.
it's so found in a cave where trolls have been hiding. They hid some treasure in there, and some of the treasure were old elven weaponry that,
Hmm.
that they had stolen or killed and took from them or something. I don't know.
From the first age, which was the
Right,
finest. That was the finest elven weaponry. Second age. So we're in the third age, aren't we? Yeah, we're in the third age. So the second age is great elven weaponry, but the first age was like the height. So
right.
that's like the best you can get.
And they tell you all about it during the Hobbit series.
Hmm.
What's the Elf King's name? That's that they go to that explains to them where those weapons came from.
Oh no, that was wasn't it Elrond? Elrond told him the names of the blades.
Elrond told them the names of the blades. Yes, the other one, when they get there and get captured, uh, wants to know where they got such fine weapons. They were made by the elves of the first age, and about how
That's
great they were and everything.
Thrundil. It's
Throndiel,
Le- it's Legolas's father.
right,
Yeah,
right. I
Thrundil.
could not. I could not.
So
I
and
just watched the movie. Can't think of his name.
he's an ancient elf too. He's very, very strong. If I'm not mistaken, he has one of the three rings of powers from the elves as well. So
Hmm.
Galadriel has one, and I'm pretty sure Thranduil has the one of the other three. And I don't remember. Maybe her husband, Galadriel's husband, has the third. I don't
I thought
remember.
it was no. I'm not sure who it
Maybe it
was. Then.
isn't.
Okay.
Maybe it may be Elrond. Elrond
I,
may
I, I
have.
was thinking. I was thinking Elrond.
It may be Elrond because
All I know,
even
look, all I know is in the Hobbit movie when Gandalf's in the dark place trying to find out what's going on, and he finds Thrain
hmm
running around the area. Um, one of the orcs has him and is trying to cut a ring off his finger, saying that's one of the rings, one of the elven rings.
right.
So I don't know where Gandalf got it from, why he's wearing it.
Yeah, I don't
But
know.
anyway, two
Well,
towers. Back to the we do this all the time. We're off traffic. So back to the two towers. Back on topic. So it was basically Frodo dreaming. He wakes startled, and Sam's asks is he okay and everything. So they're taking off now to go further with their journey. Intro music kicks in, yada yada yada. Now we're starting officially the two towers.
yes.
So take us from there, Mister Rollins, if you are the one nerd to rule them all, if you will.
The one nerd to rule them all. So they're lost in Eamon Mule, and that used to be that I don't have to do. I don't know why I'm giving you the Silmarillion here, but anyway, that used to be the basically the divider between Mordor and Gondor, that mountain range that they're in,
Hmm.
and that's when they realized they're being tracked by uh, Gollum is like on their tail and following them, and then they they pretending like they're asleep, and they wake up like Gollum's coming down the daggum cliff like a spider, and then they wake up, they grab him, throw him down, and then Frodo has pity on him, and then they're gonna guide him because he said that he swears on the precious, because Frodo told him, he said, "There's no oath you could give me that I could believe." And he's like, "We swears on the precious." And Sam's flipping out the whole time. The real hero of our entire story. He's like, it's all lies. And he said, "No, the ring is treacherous, and it will hold you true to your word." So they're running off, and then I think at that point it cuts to Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli chasing the Uruk-hai after Merry and Pippin,
Right.
and
They're still tracking
that's
where they're going. And I think they're a good day's run ahead of them or half a day's run ahead of them still.
right. Yeah, this is the one too where Gimli's like, Gimli said, "We dwarves are wasted on cross country. We're very fast in a sprint."
Hmm.
But yeah, they're chasing the Uruk-hai, and then Pippin's trying to get Mary's attention. Mary's like all knocked out on one of the Uruk-hai's back, and he asked for water. Yeah, yeah. He said, "My friend needs some water," and they start like basically force feeding him blood. It was what I guess what it looks like, what they alluded to, and so they take. He's like, "See, Pippin, I'm fine," and then they take off running again, and he pulls one of the leaves. It's the pin. Actually, I think yes.
It's a pin for holding the
Legolas is
head of his
wearing it.
cloak.
Legolas is wearing it right behind you. So Galadriel and the tree elves, the forest elves, gave all of them one of those to hold their cloak closed, and that's when, uh, a little bit after that, Legolas, Aragorn, and Gimli are tracking them, and that's where he said, "Not I." He ran up and found where they dropped it, so he knew they were still alive because he said, Not idly do the leaves of Lorien fall," and yeah, they just kept they're running and running and running, man. It just pans out and shows all these crazy, humongous, doggone landscapes, and these I guess drone shots or whatever, however they did it back then,
Yeah.
of New Zealand.
And it's nice too. I mean, the landscape you see there is really beautiful. It's a nice
Right.
shot. The mountains, the green, everything you're looking at there, it's all great stuff. I mean, it's like me and you talked before in a previous episode. I brought this up last time. What universe would we live in? And we talked real heavy on
Mm-hmm.
Lord of the Rings universe because of how the areas look. You've got everything there you could want. You've got such big green areas, green everywhere. I mean, nice
Man,
woods. You've
the
got
mountain ranges are crazy too. It's
right,
like
right. You got the mountain ranges with the snow peaks on them and everything, and uh, and if you don't go up into the mountains, down at the bottom is still a nice area
hmm
before you get up into the mountains itself. I mean, then you got your gloom and doom look areas that a lot of that I'm sure was probably studio based and everything, but
Yeah, it's as crazy looking as the actual mountain ranges that are in China. That oh man, Ridley Scott, was it Ridley Scott that based Avatar?
yeah.
He based the hanging things in Avatar off of an actual mountain range in China. It's that crazy and breathtaking. But they're running and they catch up. So we're I don't remember when it happened. It's in between. We missed a spot where um, Grima and Aemir and Eowyn. So yeah, Grima, Aemir, and Eowyn. So it shows us Theoden all old and decrepit in the throne room. He like cuts to Rohan at some point during this time, um, and it starts telling us the story of Eowyn and Aemir, and Theoden was his son's name, and
No, Theoden was king.
Theoden's king, and then Theowen was the son, right?
Right.
Theowen was the
Oh,
son, yeah.
I believe so.
So it shows that, and it shows Grima like basically through the power of Sauron. Yeah, yeah. Sauron's getting him through the Seeking Ball, giving him the power from Sauron. It's all going back to Sauron. So they basically got mind control over Theoden, and Theo, not Theoden. I'm getting him. I just said all the names. Aomir. Aomir stops Grima and he tells him, too long have you lurked and looked at my sister or something. I can't remember exactly.
Right.
And so he threatens him. He's like basically tells him, "I'll kill you." So Grima uses the power that he's basically usurped from Theoden to remove or exile Aomer, who is the leader of the Rohirrim, which is the Rohan's horse rider army, which is crazy strong and I mean, it's cavalry times 10. I guess it's kind of the way they make it out to be. So they're leaving, and during the time that Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli are chasing down the Uruk-hai. Oh yeah, I'm skipping parts too. See, I don't have it.
See,
I don't have it
see,
laid out right in front of
it
me.
is so hard to go without having a breakdown in front of you to go step by step. But it's okay
Yeah,
though. I mean, we don't have to give a step
because
by
I'm
step
I'm forgetting
relay.
about Fangorn Forest because then it breaks back to
Well, I
Merry
mean,
and Pippin.
basically, you went to Merry and Pippin. You see what the orcs are doing. They're taking a break. They're going to camp for a while because a lot of them refuse to go anywhere because they're hungry. They
Right.
haven't eaten except for
Looks like we ain't had
they
nothing
said
but maggoty bread for 3 stinking days.
exactly that's it, maggoty bread. So they want some meat, and they're looking at those hobbits. It says, "What about them? They look juicy." And
What
they're
about the
like,
legs? They don't need
"No,
those.
right?" It was like they don't need their legs. So they end up fighting amongst themselves about what's going on, and the one that wouldn't let them do it
Yeah, because
ends up getting killed.
one of the orcs said nobody's touching them.
The
They're
master,
going back to Saruman, uh, untouched and unspoiled. And then one of the Uruk-hai said, "I don't take orders from a stinking orc," and they like ripped his guts out and started throwing him up in the air or something.
and they're like, "Looks like meat's back on the menu, boys."
Yeah, and so then the orcs and the Uruk-hai start fighting too, and then
But
during that fight, the Rohirrim rides in.
right, the horsemen of Rohan, basically, I think that's what they call them, don't they?
Yes, the
That's
horsemen.
that's how Aragorn referred to him when he saw him ride by. I believe it was the
Yes.
horsemen of Rohan.
So, Riders of
So
Rohan, what news from the mark?
Oh, Riders of Rohan. That's it. Riders of Rohan. But they end up slaughtering all the orcs, and so when they come back around to them and circle them, they've got spears pointed down at all of them, and this movie is where Gimli really starts standing out some.
He does.
So because he's got so many little funny one-liners, and he's puffing that chest out a little bit, and you've got it where Aomir's like, what business does a man and orc, not orc, a man, an elf, and a dwarf have in Rohan?
He said,
And he
"Give
says,
me
well,
your name, Horsemaster, and I'll give you mine."
right. So he tells him he would cut off his head if it was just a little bit more above his waist.
Yeah, I would cut off your head if it stood just a little higher from the ground. And then daggum, and then I love that too because it started showing the brotherhood of those three characters as well. Because
Right.
Legolas just like instantly had an arrow to his head. He was
Yeah.
like, "You would die before your stroke fell." Like,
So
that was getting
right. So
lit,
you
man.
can
They
see
didn't even give him a name.
the
Like, we
three of
get in.
no, the three of them have really come together at this point as good friends. It seems like.
Yeah,
So Aragorn calms everything down, talks to him, tells him they're tracking a pack of Uruk-hai that has taken two of their friends hostage. He said, and he said, well, we killed the Uruk-hai just over the hillside or something like that, and
hmm
all this other stuff. And they said, well, did they have two hobbits with them? Gimli's asking. They would look like children to you, probably. They have two
yeah.
hobbits. He said, they didn't. They left none alive. So now they're thinking, oh no, they're dead. So they travel over to where the pack of
Well, he
Uruk-hai
told him
are.
though. There's an important part you're skipping though, because he told him they gave him two horses. They gave him two horses
Right.
from two of the fallen riders, and then he told him. When he gave him the horses, he said, "May they serve you better than their former masters." And he said, "Go search for your friends, but do not trust a hope. It has forsaken this land." See, that's how much I watched this movie. It's ridiculous.
Did you say do not trust a hook or do not trust a hook?
Hope,
A
HOPE.
hope.
Do not
It
trust the
sounded
hope.
It sounds like he is saying all these years I've heard, "Do not trust a hook." I'm like, what does that mean?
Yeah, no,
Don't.
no. He said, yeah, because he said, "Go search for your friends, but do not trust to hope. It has forsaken these lands."
Well, when they finally get to where they are, then they're all slaughtered. They're searching through everything, and I think I don't know if it was Gimli or if it was Legolas pulls out the little harness thing that one of them was wearing.
I don't remember which one it was either, to be
But
honest.
anyway, they found it in the burn pile, and Aragorn's all mad and throws himself on the ground, having a fit like LeBron James whenever the Celtics fouled him a few weeks ago.
Well, the reason he did that was because he screamed, "Ah!" and he kicked the helmet. And when
Right.
he kicked that helmet, he really did like shatter his big toe.
Yes, I was going to
So
say that.
instead of like falling, he just played it to the scene. Just so that was
Oh,
like really that. I know he kicked the helmet, and then that's when he was like, "Ah!"
that's like me stepping on a Lego in the middle of the night.
Right. So that scene is actually him breaking his toe in front of us.
So then they work it out to where he slams his fist down on the ground. Now all of a sudden he can see or relive or something that two hobbits lied here. How does he know two hobbits laid there anyway?
Because
So
he's Strider, the ranger from the
yeah,
north,
I get that, but how do you
master
know it's
tracker.
well? I want to know how Master Tracker knows two hobbits laid there versus just two rocks beat on the ground.
Yeah, he said two
So
hobbits lay here.
then they started. Their bonds were broken, and they
Right.
crawled this way. They're going
They
toward
went
Fangor,
into
and
the
they led them
forest,
into
and it,
Fangorn Forest.
yeah. And Gimli said, "What madness would lead them in there?"
So now we see though when they're in Fangorn Forest, they think they're getting away from the orc. The orc is coming after them still. They start climbing a tree, and the orc is trying to pull them down. I believe one of them falls because he sees what looks like an eyeball on the tree suddenly looking at him, which it was. Uh, the orc is going to kill him, and basically, I think the other one starts to fall, and he's caught by the hand of the tree, and the tree steps on the orc,
Mm-hmm.
and he's says, "It
Treebeard.
is Treebeard." Now, do you know who does the voice for Treebeard?
I do.
Didn't know if you knew
Gimli,
this one or not. Yes, it's
Sir
Gimli.
John Reyes Davis.
That's right. He is
And
doing
once you
the
know
voice.
that, you can actually really hear it. Until you
Right.
know that, you don't really realize it. But once you know it's him, it's like, oh yeah, I can totally hear it.
Yeah, you can absolutely hear it at that point.
Yeah,
It's amazing that one how you didn't notice it before. Now it just fits in right.
crazy.
But we've got all this leading up to the. I mean, it's been a good movie so far at this point because I like how they go deep into the story. It's not just about action where you got them fighting the orcs all the time or something. They actually lay down a solid storyline from the beginning movie
Oh yeah,
all into
oh
this. Now,
yeah.
now, don't get me wrong, people. The action picks up in Two Towers for sure. All right, we've got the war at Helm's Deep, which
Mm-hmm.
is a massive and great war they have there. It's probably I can't decide sometimes, Travis. I don't know whether, in my opinion, the war at Helm's Deep was better or the one at Gondor
On
where.
film, on film for me, Helm's Deep beats the one at Gondor hands down. Just because of the grittiness and the way that they filmed it, and then the build up, like you were talking about the story, which we'll get to this part of the story for a minute in a second. But what happens with Aragorn, and
Mhm.
the and then the it feels like it shows more of the people too, like when they're arming children and throwing mail on 10-year olds, and Legolas is flipping out. He's like, they're gonna die. They're speaking to each other in Elvish, and he said they're all gonna die. And then like Aragorn just like, then I'll die as one of them. It's just like it's more powerful to me. You go to Gondor and then you got this beehole trying to burn trying to burn Boromir's little brother. But I mean, the scope of Gondor was bigger for sure. But I think the best war on film is definitely Helm's Deep out of all six movies.
I liked it a lot. And like I said, this is where you start seeing Gimli's. Well, we'll talk more about it when we get there. But Gimli is really starting to pick up the humor a little bit. His
Right. And then you
character
get
is
the
there.
whole story too with, you've got the whole side story with what's going on with Eowyn, because Theoden had, I guess, basically adopted Aemir and Eowyn and raised them like his own. So you've got the story of her getting her uncle back, and then Aemir being staying loyal the whole time, no matter what, even though it meant exile. And then the love stories that come in and out. It's like, yeah, this one's got a lot, like this
And
one's heavier on everything, I think.
I don't remember where Aomer went to, but he took his unit, his riders, and they left. The
Yeah, they
ones that
rode
were
north.
the ones that were still loyal to Rohan, they left. Uh, and Gandalf ends up finding them ultimately, but they took off and left. I remember. So let's go ahead and talk about we'll skip ahead a little bit. We'll get to where Gandalf shows up,
Yeah,
and
we're just discussing it. We ain't got to do no whole
yeah,
breakdown.
right. I mean, and when I mean Gandalf shows up, I mean that Aragorn and Legolas and Gimli had gone into the forest, and you hear Legolas say, "The White Wizard approaches."
Yeah, and dude, I remember this feeling in the doggone theater too, because
Right. It was
it
awesome.
had
What
been
the?
so long since I read the books
Mm-hmm.
that, I mean, I read the books when I was a teenager like once, and I've read them again as an adult after these movies came out. But so it'd been so long that at the time I was like, oh, what, they about to fight Sauron? I don't remember them fighting Sauron.
No. Yeah, he's like, do not let him get a word in.
Or not
He'll put a
Sauron, but
spell.
Saruman.
What was it? It was Aragorn, I think. Don't let him speak a word. He'll put a spell on us or something. Well, they all
Yeah.
three turn around and go to and Aragorn. I mean, Legolas goes to. He shoots an arrow. It's batted away. Uh,
Hmm.
Gimli throws an axe, batted away. Aragorn comes at him with his sword. It's white hot in his hands. He drops it,
Hmm.
and they look up, and it's just this bright light. And he said something about two hobbits came this way today, and the voice is kind of deep, and it kind of
It sounds
reminds.
like Saruman.
Yeah, I
Like
say
it
it
really does.
reminds you of Sauron. And he's like, but they ran to somebody they weren't expecting. And when he says this now, the deepness is going out. And it's starting to sound more like Gandalf. And he goes, "Does that make you feel uh, more comfortable or something like that?"
Yeah.
And and he's like, "Who are you? Show yourself." And then the light goes away, and you see Gandalf, not like before though, when he's Gandalf the Grey with the gray robes and the old scraggly beard and all this. He is now Gandalf the White, and he's got a long, straight white beard, and
Yes.
everything is all silver about him now when it comes to his hair and everything. So he said, and they tell him, it's not possible. We saw you die. We saw you fall. And he's like, yes. He says through fire and through flame, or fire and water, or something like that. And then he breaks down the fight with the Balrog to him.
Right.
And that's where it picks back up on where Frodo's dream had happened, and we see a
Well,
little bit of it. It kind of picks up, and he tells the story how he fought that Balrog and everything.
yeah, and we did skip far ahead with that too, because so it seems like I remember it's the White Wizard approaches, and then when he comes out, that action sequence hits, and then they turn and look, and you see the flash, and it seems like it cuts to Rivendell and Arwen with Arwen and Elrond telling, convincing her to go to Valinor, basically telling her that there was
I
no
don't.
life for her here.
Now, are you sure it happens just like that quick though?
I'm
I
not sure
mean,
if it happens just like
I
that,
don't
but it
think it
seems
happens.
like,
I don't think it happens just like that because they got their fight in with him, and then he explains who he is first.
is that what it
Now,
was?
after the fact, she may have done that. He may have
See,
tried to tell her where to
I
go.
thought he came out, so it gave you that kind of. It was almost like cutting to a commercial, like it was like a build up, and then they shot to something else for 5 or 10 minutes, and
I
then
don't
came
think
back.
I don't think it was
I could
quite
be
like
wrong.
that. Yeah,
I could be wrong.
I don't think it was. It was just a few weeks ago when I watched it. Actually,
Yeah.
I don't think it was quite like that. I think they get the whole scene in, and then he tells him the story of the Balrog, and then he says, "Yes, Gandalf the
I smote my foe's ruin
Gimli."
upon the mountainside.
Gimli's looking at him. He's calling him Gandalf. He's like, "Yes, Gandalf, Gandalf the Grey. That was my name." He says, "I'm Gandalf the White, and I have
Right.
returned to help you
In your time of
in
need.
your time of need." So they end up going down to Rohan. They get the first stop is going to Rohan to free Theoden from his mind control they have over him.
Yeah, but
Um,
that's what I'm saying. It wasn't, and see, but somewhere in there, somewhere during
well,
that
right
time,
about there, when they take off riding to go to Rohan, that might be where it skips over at that point.
it may be.
I don't, I mean, I can't say 100%, but I'm thinking that that
It
might
may have
be it.
been because but I remember too. So yeah, it skipped over to that, and it had Elrond telling Arwen basically that Aragorn's going to die. There's nothing for you here.
Right, he'll only live so long. There's nothing for you. What will you do when he's dead and gone?
Yeah, she said, but I love him. And then he said, oh, that was good too. He said, but what about me? Do I not also have your love? I was like, oh, she's like, the way she said, because she's,
He done pulled the daddy card on her.
yeah, and the way she said daddy in the Elvish language was really cool. She's like, of course you do, father, but the way she said it, and when she said father, it was something like Hada or something. It just sounded cool to me. And then because then it goes back to, yeah, they did that, and then it goes back to um well, it keeps cutting back and forth to daggum Sam and Frodo running through, and there's some part where Gollum smashes up some crumbs from the lambus bread and then throws the lambus bread all off the side of the mountain.
And that's a little bit further into it though, because
Is
he's
that further
getting
off the side?
yeah, that's further in because he's trying to get Frodo's trust and getting rid of Sam because Sam's a threat to him.
Yeah.
Now, actually, I'm looking right now. I just pulled it up on my other screen. So the white horse is coming up for Gandalf to get on and ride. When they take off riding, it goes to Treebeard carrying the hobbits. They're going through the
Yes.
forest, and he's
Yeah.
supposed to be taking them somewhere to take him to safety, and they're wanting to get him to go somewhere else. He doesn't get them to go to Isengard like they want, but they kind of trick him later on to go a certain direction later in the
Mm-hmm.
movie, where Kate comes out by Isengard. But that's where it skipped to at that point.
Yeah, because they told him they said we need to go south. He said, but that will take us right past Isengard. And it's like, well,
Yeah.
what better way to hide than in plain sight or whatever? Because they knew if they got him to see the destruction, did didn't they? Did they do the Entmoot? He took him to the Entmoot.
Now you get through all that part right there, and Gollum has agreed to take them to the gate. That was
Right.
what his deal was. They'll spare his life, but he has to be their guide and take them to the gate at Mordor, which he has done. They're now at the gate of Mordor.
That's right, because they have to go through the swamps and the mist. Yeah, they got to go through
They're gonna. He's gonna take
misty
them later
mountains and
on.
all that. Yeah,
He's
yeah,
gonna take them later on to the Morgul Vale.
right. I
So
forgot all about. I missed the whole thing because that was what's Titus precious.
And so now they got him here. They're looking at the gate, wanting to go in, and of course, uh, Gollum is stopping them from going in. He says, you can't go there. He'll take the ring. He wants it. He's looking for it, and all
Mm-hmm.
these things. Well, the Ents are having their discussion on what they want to do, and of course, anything worth discussing takes a long time to discuss.
Yeah.
So they're going to wait through all this. They are while they're talking about what to do at this point, how they can get him to help and join the fight and everything. So
Now was that did they go? Did they go by Minas Morgul before they went through the swamp? No, I'm getting all twisted up. I guess I
I
get the timeline all
I
twisted up.
no, I think Minas Morgul was after that. That's where the green light comes up out of into the sky, right?
Yeah, that's
Where
the
they
Witch King. That's the
where
Witch
the Witch
King's
King
thing.
releases the army to come out.
It is
Yeah,
hard to point the right way
yeah.
doing this
All right,
thing.
I'm telling you, man.
Yeah,
So
brother.
so they do that. They have agreed not to go into the front gate. Now you're skipping back into Rohan again, and you're seeing where Theoden's son has died now,
Mm-hmm.
and Eowyn's in there looking after him when he's died. Wormtongue is trying to talk with her, and because he's always liked her from afar and everything.
Right.
So this is the point to where she runs outside, upset and mad. The flag falls, blows off, and falls down. Goes right past Aragorn as they're riding up. Aragorn, Gimli, Legolas, and Gandalf are coming in now. Gandalf is disguised with a gray robe on him. so he can't really see the white robe he's wearing. He has his walking stick with him, and then of course, Gimli gets mad because he left his staff with him.
Hmm.
And this is where the fight ensues inside the building there, inside the throne room, where you
Right.
see
Well,
them
because when he
smatter.
walks in, when he walks in, they start taking the weapon, and Gandalf said, "You wouldn't part an old man from his walking cane, would you?"
Yeah.
His walking staff.
And what is it Theoden calls him? He calls him something Stormcrow.
Yeah, yeah. Gandalf Stormcrow.
Gandalf Stormcrow. So it's like the man's a man of many names. It seems like.
Yeah, because okay, so with him being uh, a mayor, which we've talked about this before, basically he's like a choir of an angel, basically.
Yeah,
Um, they every he's been around so long and around so many that he's had a lot of names in their languages for one, and then insulting names and things like that. That's like what was what was it? You and I were talking about what Galadriel called him.
Mithrandir.
Mithrandir. Mithrandir means traveler in the Elvish language. So, the Stormcrow thing, I'm not sure why they called him that, but yeah, he was known by lots and lots of names.
Yeah, yeah. So they're into basically it goes to the throne room to release Theoden from the mind control. They're going to need Theoden for it's over with, and he knows this. That's why his first stop is there. They're going to need Rohan if the fight's going to come to Gondor. They're going to need Rohan to step up and help out.
That's what it is. Okay, I just picked it up. Stormcrow was a name given to Gandalf by Theoden and Rohan in reference to his arrival being associated with times of trouble. So that's why he called him that. And the way he did, he's like, Stormcrow,
Yeah,
you're not welcome here.
and it's really crazy how he looks when you see Theoden in there with Sauron I keep on saying Sauron with Saruman in control of him.
Yeah.
And the look, he looks like you said an old decrepit man that's like 100 years old or something.
Yeah, they
But
made
his
his
eyes,
eyes milky and
yeah, his
stuff.
eyes are all milky white and everything when you can't see an eyeball in there almost. And he's just
Yeah.
crazy. And then whenever Gandalf removes Saruman from him and he starts getting himself back, you see him start changing right in front of you. Like he
Hmm.
goes back to his more youthful appearance,
Right.
looking like his normal self, recognizing people. Then asked basically where his son was because that's one of the first things he remembers. I guess was his son. It was really cool that sequence too when they show him
Oh, when they
reverse
did,
aging.
yeah, when they did the reverse aging, it was so cool because it reminded me when I was a kid going to Ripley's Believe It or Not and seeing the little hologram of like the dude turning into the Wolfman in front of you. It was
Yeah,
kind of like that in reverse. I was like, wow, man, they did. For the time that they did this, it's like everything about these movies were just cutting edge, impressive, and I feel like they still hold up today.
I think he do just fine.
Yeah.
Now we've gotten Theoden back now, but now the challenge begins because he doesn't want to give in right away and do these things especially when he realizes his son is dead. He's mourning his son for one thing. He doesn't want to take his people to more death.
Hmm.
And I guess he's kind of thinking, what has Gundor, done for me lately? He's got the whole Janet Jackson thing going on.
Exactly.
Well, what has Gundor done for me lately? Why should I send my people there to die and such?
Which is
So,
funny that that's a common theme throughout the entire thing,
right.
Like the elves abandoned the dwarves, so they're not going to ask them for help. And then, you know, that was a really cool harkening back to that when there's too many
Thandril?
Thierndil. There's too many names that sound the same. But when he was talking to my dude and he leaned in and like it was like he was holding on to the magic to keep the burn from the dragon fire on it. You know what I mean? Like he let it go and let him see him. That was wild.
Yeah. Yeah. And now, so, I mean, of course, Worm. I keep wanting to call him Wormtail. I
Grima.
keep wanting. I know, but
Grima.
I keep wanting to call him Wormtail. Um, I'm getting two movie franchises mixed up. Uh, Grim and Wormtongue, it's this point where Theoden is going to kill him. He's going to get over with. Aragorn stops him and said, there's been enough killing. Let's, let him go. And he still plays a part later on, in the movie. So he's not.
Absolutely.
We're not done with him. Yeah, he does escape and get away from Theoden. But now, it begins convincing Theoden to help. So it's not an easy task to do. Gandalf takes off and leaves to go find. Uh, I think it's was it
He went to
Aemir?
go find Aemir.
Aemir.
He said, "Look for my coming on the first light of the third day."
And that is cool how that worked out at the end too, because they've held up in Helm's Deep for so long with the fight, and they're being overrun, and he realizes the light's coming through, that the
Mm-hmm.
sunrise is coming out, and Theoden's like, "What can we do?" And he remembers what Gandalf said. He says, "Ride out. You ride out and meet them."
Yeah.
So then they end up riding out together. Let's just be the day that we fight together, that we raise swords together, and they're gonna ride out after him and everything.
Right.
Of course, we're skipping way ahead on that, but what ultimately happens is I'm gonna jump a little bit ahead again because the in between stuff I don't think is too important for the whole movie at this point. But they finally skip ahead to where they do leave, and they're not going to help out at Gundor at this point. They're just leaving where they are because there's a group of wild men coming across everywhere, and they're burning up villages, and they're raiding, and they're killing people, stealing their stuff.
Right.
Um,
And that's where he got into it with Aragorn real strong because Aragorn told him to go to Rohan, and he said last time I checked, Theoden was king of Rohan, not Aragorn. And he said we'll go to Helm's Deep as we've always have.
mhm.
And he was trying to tell him to you're walking right into the plot into the plan.
Yeah, and Aragorn had said he couldn't blame him. He's just trying to save his people. He
Right.
understands that, but at the same time, it's not helping matters what they need to have done.
Yeah.
Um, so but this is all brought upon him. He's grieving his son pretty bad right now, and he doesn't want. He knows the feeling of the death of his son. As he said,
And
no
he was
father should have to
under
bury their child.
Yeah, and what we're missing about that too is he was under Sauron's spell when he died, when
Hmm.
Theowen died.
Right.
So he didn't like when he came back. That was his first question. Was like, where's Theowen?
So now, he's not having no more. He doesn't want anybody else to lose their loved ones. He don't want to lose any more people. They're gonna fall back to Helm's Deep, where they have gone many a time and survived. They can live through anything at Helm's Deep. Nothing breaches the walls of Helm's Deep. That's what they're
Mm-hmm.
saying. So they're making their way there. They take a travel. They have to start traveling. Travel lightly. Take what they have to. Only what you need. They're getting on horses. They're walking. They're going to Helm's Deep, and we start get our well, we get our first real bit of action here. I think the way I looked at it, because the thing with the Riders of Rohan and the Urukai, that we didn't see much of that. We saw the horses come in fast and swords slinging, and it goes to a different scene. This one, however, we see a fight because there's a warg rider that comes through, that jumps down and kills one of the people, and he's getting killed, I think, by Legolas. Legolas runs up and looks down over the hillside and sees more of them coming. Aragorn runs back and tells the King Theoden that they have spies, that they had found a warg spy up there. They're under attack. So he sends all
Mm-hmm.
the people out and tells Eowyn, is it Eowyn? Yeah, Eowyn
Yes.
tells
Yes.
Eowyn to get the people. She wants to stay and fight. And she says, "No, I need you to get them to Helm's Deep. I trust you to get them to Helm's Deep. Take them
Right.
down the path and go. We'll take care of this." So they all take off. She's got the hots for Aragorn at this point, too. We all know in the movie.
Right.
This is where during the walk, they're talking about how she asked him about him fighting with her grandfather in
Yeah.
a war, and she didn't believe it. She didn't know how old he really was.
Yeah. She said you must be 100 years old, and he's like 87.
Yeah, 87 years old because the people there, they're not quite like elves, but I mean, you know,
Yeah,
they do live longer lives at that point. Dunedain.
yeah, the Dunedain.
Um, and there's a reference to that in The Hobbit as well, where Thranduil tells Legolas Legolas says, "I can't go back."
Yeah,
He says, "Where will you go?" He says, "I don't know yet." He says, "Go north. There's a
search
young
out. Yeah,
Search out the young ranger out there. They call him Strider. He's a no. He says seek out the Dunedain
yeah,
or Dunedain, however you say it.
yeah,
It says there's a young ranger in the woods. He goes by Strider, but that's not his real name. He says, "What is it?" He goes, "You must
Young
learn that
Ranger.
on your own."
Right, yeah.
So he sends him out.
Because even with Legolas being a child, so to speak, he's already like 5 to 800 years old, so he knows. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
He knows who Aragorn is on his name alone.
right. So now we got the first big fight, like I said, coming on, and it was pretty cool. It was kind of cool for our first taste of fighting leading up to the Battle of Helm's Deep.
It was
Uh,
awesome,
but something happens to where you're not sure how it's going to go forward because
which is
on
what I
the
talked about earlier.
in the bit of the battle that they had going on, Aragorn uh, takes on an orc. It's on a warg rider and or that's on a warg, and before he can cut himself free of the saddle that he's hooked onto somehow, uh, they go over the cliff.
Right.
So you don't know at this point is he
And
alive or
plummet
dead.
to the rocks below.
The orc laughs and tells Gimli and Legolas that he's dead, and they wonder because he had snatched the necklace off of him.
Hmm.
So they look
Which is
over
the
the
Evening
edge,
Star.
right? And they look over the edge and can't see him nowhere. Theoden is, a little bit disturbed by it, unhappy, and tells him, "Well, come on with us. We must go. There's he's gone or something like that. There's no way he could have survived that, or I forget how it goes. Uh, they do pick up a little bit later though, and
Oh yeah,
he
they're
actually is
positive he's
alive.
dead because it's like they're positive he's dead because it's like it looked like 200 foot fall,
Yeah,
into the craggy, cavernous. You just imagine like the worst part of the Colorado River. It's like pretty gnarly.
right. And who knows how he landed? I mean, I'm assuming he landed straight in the water.
Right.
It had to have to survive that fall.
Hmm.
But he is found by his horse, which kind of nudges him awake and gets him to climb upon him and take him to where he has to go. He sees that orc army coming. The others have gotten to Helm's Deep now. They're getting the people situated, and Aragorn arrives there and, like a boss, throws them doors open.
Dude, that was like the most. That's the second most boss part of his entire part in the movie. The first one was in the first movie in Fellowship when he come walking around the corner, just that. Oh, dude, that was the
Where
coolest
he's
look
fighting the
ever.
ring wraiths.
No, where he comes at the end of the movie, where he comes around the corner, it's just
Oh
like
yeah,
100
and
Urukai coming through the woods, and it just
he
looks like
slings that
another day of
sword up in
work,
front of his
man. He just
face.
comes around the corner, but yeah, the way that
Here,
dude
look,
swings
look,
himself
look.
around, man.
He's like,
Yeah,
pull
yeah,
that sword
dude,
up in
just
front of his face. He's ready to go. He's gonna fight them all. But yeah,
yeah.
he comes in. He's unseen the army making its way there, and he tells them it's tens of thousands. It's an army bred for only one thing, and that
But
was to
then
destroy
Eowyn,
man.
another thing too, it was Eowyn like gasped and started to run up to him, and then she stopped because she saw him talking to Legolas, and Legolas uh, returned the Even Star to him, which was the gift
Right,
from Arwen.
right, right. So
That was the symbol. That was the symbol of her giving up her immortality for him.
yeah, yeah. So she does not at that point approach it and then go any further with it. Uh, the I want to go ahead and let's see, where do we go from here? Let's see where we want to talk. I don't want to go straight to the Battle of Helm's Deep just yet. There's more stuff to it.
Yeah, there's a lot more to talk about because Arwen has a dream somewhere in this.
That's
area.
right. That's right. And she's mad at her. She's mad at Elrond because she said, you have the gift of foresight. You've seen it. You know.
Right.
He said there's no
Yeah, so she's
guarantee.
dreaming
She's
she's dreaming about her and Aragorn, and when she turns around, Aragorn's king, but when she turns around, uh a little boy come running out the gate. So look like they got a little baby, a little half breed running around.
uh,
But yeah,
uh,
so yeah, she saw their child,
yeah.
and yeah, she wasn't too happy with Pappy.
No, and she knew. So at that point, she does something to force his hand. She tells him, to reforge the blade,
Yeah.
or
No,
or am I
was
jumping,
that
or am I
Galadriel?
jumping ahead? Am I
That
jumping to
I
the
feel
third
like
movie?
no, I don't think so. No, yeah. That is the third movie because Galadriel comes at some point. Yeah, because that's when her and Galadriel, I think, have the only interaction, if they even do. Uh, that may be the extended stuff that I'm thinking of too, man. I've watched so much content for this movie, for this story. You know what I mean, like the behind the scenes and all that stuff too. That I've seen things that didn't happen in the movie, that they didn't keep. But I'm thinking like Galadriel comes, and during that time where Arwen was real mad at Elrond, Galadriel shows up and convinces Elrond to honor the call or honor the old truce or whatever, and send the elves to uh, Helm's Deep.
Right, and that's an extended scene. That's not in the regular.
Okay,
I can tell you that because that was not in what I watched a few weeks ago.
okay.
But
So
it,
heck
but
yeah.
it but it fits nicely and it explains why they showed up.
Yeah, because the
Because
extended version, I mean, I mean, literally, you go from 2 hours and 45 minutes. I think it was theatrical.
it's 3 hours. Well, the extended is 3 hours 55 minutes long.
Yeah, it's almost 4 hours. So I mean, you got. We're not talking about like 10, 15 minutes extra footage. We're talking about a whole nother movie.
I mean, and it's well loved. I mean, it's so much great stuff put into it. So much more deeper of a story, a better
hmm
understanding of why things are happening like they are. And let's not forget the trip of Sam and Frodo, where Gollum is taking them and everything. So you got Gollum who's acting, perfectly nice. He's getting fish
Yeah,
and
that's when he
everything.
gets.
He's
Yeah,
You got Sam still upset trying to talk Frodo into out of keeping him because he's not good. He's going to be dangerous. We
right.
can't trust him.
And he comes
Uh,
running up with the rabbits.
yeah,
You'll make him sick. You will. There's only one way. There's only one way to eat a brace of conies.
yeah. What's taters, precious?
I love that. What's
Every time
potatoes,
at
precious?
after I watched this movie, I probably drove my wife wild. Probably drove her mad at this point. As every time we'd have dinner, if we had potatoes, and she'd say we're having such such have potatoes, I'd be like, taters? What's taters, precious?
Potatoes, precious.
And I
I
just
do
get
that
this
too.
look. I just get this look like,
Dude, I do it.
stop that already.
I do it in the middle of the grocery store.
Yes.
I
hold
do. I really
hold the
do.
whole bag up.
Yeah.
What's
What's
taters,
potatoes,
precious?
precious?
Oh, and yeah. So during this movie, do you remember the part where so Gollum's having a conversation with himself? It's Smeagol and Gollum. Smeagol and
hmm
Gollum
Yeah.
leave and never come back.
Smeagol.
Leave and never come back. Leave
Yeah.
now and never come back. How in the world, as loud as he's being, and they're just what looks like 15 feet away from him, are they not hearing this argument
I
amongst
know.
themselves?
Right. They're
And
tired,
hearing
man.
the whole the whole Gollum talking about killing them in their sleep or something like Sam said they would.
hmm
Uh, I just don't know, but it's kind of funny in a way too, though, because he's just talking to his reflection, talking to
Yeah.
himself, basically.
And that's where Tolkien too was Tolkien was a genius, man, and he was in a lot of things too. But showing the psychological side of Gollum being so broken in two pieces, and that him being apart from the ring, he's still close to it, but being apart from it, as in his possession, it shows. You know what I mean? It's him becoming who he was as the river folk, as Spiegel again. So he's reverting back to being, in some capacity, a good, pure life form. I mean, he was
Something.
a hobbit. He was the river folk. So I mean, Smeagol's
Yeah.
actually a hobbit that's been
Right.
corrupted by the ring.
Right. He's been, unnaturally long life, he said. That's
Hmm.
what Gandalf had said. So, and that's it just changed him drastically over the years. But he's been alive for a long time, though, at this point. The
Yes.
ring has kept him alive all this time to where he's not recognizable as a person at all. He just looks like a creature of some sort. And funny enough, we're on the part now with what's Tater's precious as I'm looking
Right.
at it. So at this point, though, we know we're about to have where Frodo hears the noise in the background. There's a fight about to ensue.
Yes. And we get to see a Oliphant.
Yes, another
This is
font.
where
They'll never believe us.
Faramir, is it
Faramir.
Boromir? Faramir.
Faramir.
Yeah.
Yeah, Faramir and his people have come out and attacked the people on the elephants, and they are taking them down. But they also find Frodo and Sam, and
Yes.
they ask about the gangly creature that was with them. Where did it go? And they're like, "Oh, we're alone. It's just the two of us." But he knows they're lying. He knows Frodo's lying, but he takes them with him anyway.
Right. And now this is after they went through the Dead Marshes too. We completely skipped the Dead Marshes. I thought the Dead Marshes was a pretty
I
cool part too.
Now I don't know if they've gone through the dead marshes already though.
Yeah, because they got after they got through the Dead Marshes was when they had the rabbit because he caught the fish. He had got the fish given to me slimy and wriggling before the Dead Marshes, and then after the Dead Marshes was the rabbits. I'm pretty sure because the Nazgul comes out and yeah.
Okay, well I must have skipped past that
Maybe,
completely.
maybe I
I
don't know.
don't remember. I don't remember skipping by, but it could have been. It's very possible.
I'm almost positive they went through the Dead Marshes before Faramir got a hold of them because it seems like they
Well,
were just
okay, hold on,
outside of.
hold on. Were the dead marshes in the Two Towers or in Return of the King?
No, that was the Two Towers, wasn't it?
I think it might be Return of the King. Is why I'm asking that now because they don't go through the dead marshes after Faramir has a hold of them. It's after he lets them go.
Did they go through the Dead Marshes?
After he lets them go. I'm pretty sure 'cause I have scrolled all through the scenes in this right here, and I can't find anything of them
It
going through
can't
dead
be. It
marshes.
can't be because it can't be because no. There's no way because they they had Sam. So Faramir had Sam and Frodo, and he showed them Gollum down there killing a little fish, singing "Fish juicy sweet, the fish in me."
Right.
So then when he did that, Gollum Smeagol went back to Gollum because then he thought the master had betrayed him again because they grabbed him up, and then after that was where they went through that tall thing, the tall steps, and then through the
Morgul
caverns,
Vale.
the Morgulfell, and then they fought Shelob, and then they went by Minas Morgul where the Witch King was. Yeah, all that happens in the Return of the King. Yeah, I'm positive. I'm nearly 100% positive.
I'm looking just to be sure, though. Give me just a second. There's something up here. Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers. It says Frodo actually falls into a marsh in which ghostly figures surround
That's
him.
it.
Okay,
That's
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the Dead Marshes.
I don't
So
see where I don't see where I've missed it at though.
the Dead Marshes was huge in the books and as well. They actually talked about that in the Hobbit books too. But that was a pretty cool part though, because you go through and you see all the dead kings in the marshes, and
Yeah,
that's like when he falls in and Gollum saved him. He was like, he said, "Be careful, you'll go down and light little lights of your own or something." But it was wild because the Nazgul like flew over, and you could see Frodo turning like his eyes was rolling back in his
right.
head. He got real pale, and
Because they're calling for the ring and everything.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That was the first. I think that was the first time you actually got to see the big winged, the big dragon thing that they ride, the big lizard dragon or whatever it is. I think that's the first time we got to
Yes.
see that in all its glory in the movie.
Right. You're right. I do believe you're right on that as well. All right. So we did see. We skipped that then earlier. My bad. I don't know how I
So the
missed
dead
that, but I
marshes is
did.
the cool part.
Yeah, I don't see how I missed that though. To be honest with you.
Because probably because honestly, man, when I was watching the Two Towers, like by this time I hate Frodo so much that I don't even care what they're doing. I want to see what everybody else is doing. And I just hope Sam's all right. Like, like nobody even likes you, Frodo.
Frodo Baggins is. So I want to get more toward the Battle of Helm's Deep because that's really where the biggest excitement of it is. It's also more the end of the movie, but I mean it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I know there's little bits here and there in between that build up the story, but we're not here to tell the whole story anyway. So it's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, but the Helm's Deep thing. The thing about it is that Grim and Wormtongue knows that's where he'll go. He'll
Oh
take
yeah.
his people. If they send the Wildmen out to destroy villages and everything, Theoden will not fight. He'll take his people to Helm's Deep and bottle up in there. So they hatch up a plan where they've built an explosive device that's going to, once you set fire to it, it's going to explode.
Yeah.
So
Gunpowder. It looked like a mine that floats in the ocean.
it does. That's exactly what it looks like. So they end up taking that in the middle of the battle, and you have Aragorn yelling at Legolas to take the guy down, take him down. And he's trying to shoot him and take him down. He hits him a couple of times, but not enough to where he takes him down, and he falls forward into that little hole. And they throw the torch onto it, and it explodes. This is not something that Theoden was counting on, and now it's blown open the wall, and these guys are pouring into Helm Deep now, right and left.
So tell me so what happened to me in that part? So I'm watching this whole movie, and I've never thought, because it's so extravagant and amazing, and they did such a wild job with it, that I never thought about how much it was reminding me of other movies from the past that I loved. But when that dude comes trucking it in, does he not remind you of the berserkers from Beastmaster that had the green glowing eyes that lived underneath the? Like, I immediately was like, "Oh my god!"
Yes, it's crazy. I also love this the start of the battle before it gets there. Of course, they've got all these. You mentioned earlier how he tells Legolas in the fight or in the argument that he'll die as one of them, and he's talking with one of the boys there, one of the young kids. Says, "Let me see your sword," and he asks him what his name is, and he tells him Harry of something or other. Yeah. I don't know.
Wasn't that the little boy that rode? Wasn't that the little sisters?
Nope. I don't think that was him. I think it was somebody else. So he says the men say we're going to die of the night. Do you think we'll die tonight? And he says either no. I think he says no, or he just doesn't know that you'll be okay. And then you hear a horn go off, and Legolas looks up excited, and Aragorn says, "That is no orc horn." Or Legolas says, "That's no orc horn."
That is no
and
orc
you take
horn.
off, and now you got Haldir showing up with an orc. I gotta go again. Haldir showing up with an elf army.
Yeah.
And it says Lord Elrond has sent us to honor the allegiance we had in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny earlier in the movie, Theoden tells Aragorn, "We're not all so blessed to be friends with elves and everything. Who will come?"
Yeah. We're not also blessed to have the company of friends that you do. Or
right. And then also now we got an army of elves with them, and they're waiting for the orcs to show up. Now they can see the orcs.
Wasn't
in the
it awesome too when they took their swords and were like, and it was like dominoes.
Yeah. They do all kind of cool things, and they're like, especially when you're watching the Hobbit series when Thranduil takes his army, and with the things that they do. There's this one part. I'm just gonna say this while I'm thinking about it because I just watched it yesterday, finished it out. During the Battle of the Five Armies, the last of the Hobbit movies, the elves, for those. You heard me hit my desk too, didn't you?
I heard it. Yeah.
The elves are not going to fight, Thandril's about to recall his people, and
Yeah.
um, so I don't know if it was Gandalf or if it was what was her name that Evangeline Lilly played?
Oh man.
Begins
If
with
you
a
had,
T.
yeah, if you hadn't asked me, I could have told you.
Yeah, I can't think of her name, but she's like, "You will not abandon them. You will not do this time or whatever." Anyway, they just got done fighting Ironfoot's army that had
Hmm.
come in, and now the orcs are coming, and he turns his army back around. Ironfoot does and takes them toward them to fight them. They form this big wall-looking thing of shields stacked too high. All the
Right.
dwarves
That's a
do.
old. That's a old school Roman. That's the Roman phalanx. They did a Roman phalanx.
So they do this, so it's like two shields high where they
Yeah.
stacked on each other, and all of a sudden you think the elves have dropped out, but the elves come flying over the top of them with their
Yeah.
swords
Oh,
and
dude.
everything. I mean,
Yeah, that was an awesome
that
moment.
was like an epic moment right there in the movie, the way they come over flying over and fighting
Yeah,
and
it really
everything.
was.
So it just reminded me of that.
Then they
Uh,
all went hard.
so
What I
you've
love
got
about that moment in the movie, what I love about that moment in the movie is how we once again see Tolkien's influence on the future because you have the Earth Eaters. That's the sandworms from
right,
Dune and
right,
Beetlejuice. You know what I mean? That's so. I mean, we could go back and say, there's been legends of that in ancient Egypt or whatever. But like, look, Tolkien wrote about them first. like as far as we know anyway, in pop culture,
right.
we could probably dig back for 7,000 years and find any story you want to, but still.
But now, do you remember where I told you this is where I thought the movie where Gimli really started to shine a little bit? He was more
Hmm.
outspoken, more saying more things. He was humorous. He was kind of funny.
Oh yeah.
Now that Haldir's there and they're honoring their allegiance, they're set up and they're watching the orc army come in. They're just walking closer and closer and closer. And they're out there in front of the Helm's Deep. Now the war's about to begin. And the orcs are making their
They
little,
go out the
you know,
side door.
they're making their noise. And no,
Well,
no, 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 not that part. Not that part. We ain't got
okay.
there just yet.
Okay. Okay.
Because we'll touch on that in just a minute. But
Don't tell the elf.
at first, he's standing next to Legolas, in between Legolas and another elf, I think it was, and he goes, you couldn't have picked a better spot. He goes, what's
Yeah.
happening right now? He goes,
Yeah.
would you like me to describe it to you, or shall I get you a box?
Yeah. Yeah.
And he just
He
looks
just
at him like
looked at
he's
him and
mad
laughed.
for a second, and then he starts going,
Yeah. Yeah.
laughing about it.
Kind of like that
So
moment when Aragorn came back and flung the doors open when we come walking up there. Legolas looked at him and said, "You look terrible." He just
yeah,
looked at him and grinned.
it's so
Yeah.
the battle for Helm's Deep has started. All right, we got arrows flying everywhere. You got orcs trying to throw ladders up on the wall and climb up to the wall to the top. Some of them get over the wall and in the fight, and everybody's
I've watched this movie. I've watched these movies so many times. It's not funny, and I'm to this day. I see where the scope for the Battle of Gondor could be larger, and they have the Oliphants, and then they have the Army of the Dead, and
well. The battle
pirates.
for Gondor is bigger.
Yeah,
Okay,
but this feels as big to me. You know what I mean? Like as
well because
you see them
because
all come marching in.
Helm's Deep is a huge place in the side of the mountain. But
Yeah,
I mean, it's a huge fight though because you got so many orc that are there in that army. They're there to fight. So
it looks
many
like
elves
World
have
War
showed
Z
up.
with them coming up the walls.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. And then so they're getting the elves are shooting them down with arrows. Or some are getting over the walls and fighting. And then you got Gimli. Now he's bring them to me. Bring them to my axe. Let me have some. And they get in there and they start fighting and he's counting off how many he's killing as he's killing them.
Right.
And he's like, Legolas, I'm at what was it?
I don't remember. I don't remember
I,
the exact number, but he's like,
let's just say
I've
it's
killed
like
4 already, and
yeah,
he's
it's
like,
not
I'm on
like
13.
yeah. He's like, what? No elf is outdoing me. Then you start hearing in the background, you hear 11, 12,
Heck yeah.
13,
Right.
14.
Yeah, he's just
Oh my
walking
gosh.
along the wall, and then Legolas, dude, that's an awesome part where Legolas like surfs the shield down the stairs. He
Okay,
like
now that was awesome. When I saw that in the movie,
stair grinds a shield and shooting arrows at the same time. Choo,
when
choo,
I
choo.
saw that movie, I was like, dude, that rocks because
Yeah,
he's on the he throws the shield down just like you see kids on the beach throwing their boogie boards down and jumping on them and riding them across the edge of the water. Throws
yeah,
that shield down, jumps on it, rides down the stone steps, and one arrow after the other. Then he gets to the end of it, takes an arrow out, stabs it in one's head, pulls it out, shoots that same arrow into another
yeah.
one.
And didn't when he hit the bottom of the stairs, didn't he do like basically a kick flip and throw it like the shield like
Yes, the
stuck near
shield
another one in the
stuck.
neck,
Yes, the shield stuck
like
one in the neck.
decapitated one of them,
I don't know if I don't know if it decapitated, but he kicked that
stuck
shield
him in the
out,
neck.
and
Yeah,
it stuck him right in the neck. And then you see Legolas break bad with his short swords that he pulls out.
yeah,
Two of them he
yeah.
does. I don't know if they're short swords or big daggers. I don't know
They're
what they were for
daggers.
sure.
Well, well, if you're gonna if you buy the fanboy props, they call them daggers.
Okay, so he breaks bad with that for a little bit. And hey, I want to know something. Let's get this out there while we're thinking about it. It's a big war out there. He can only hold so many arrows in his quiver.
Yeah.
Where does he keep getting his arrows?
Oh, he's just picking them out of other people.
I'm just saying, is that where he's getting his arrows, or is there something magical about elves and their quivers where they have
They
never
do
ending
have
arrows?
they do have some strong magic.
That
They
makes
do have some
that's
strong
why I'm
magic.
asking because they got some
You can
strong
have a.
stuff going on.
I know in D&D, I used to have a pouch of.
Well, Legolas was
I
not
had
in
a
D and
girdle of
D.
giant strength and a pouch of bottomless ending or something, whatever it was called.
Legolas was not in D&D, so it's not the same. But
Well,
I
it's
honestly
elven magic.
wondered, no joke, I honestly wondered, was it some kind of a magical thing to where they didn't run out of arrows? But then I'm
Right.
watching The Hobbit, and he's trying to reach back for an arrow to save the girl
And he don't got
who's
one.
about to get hit by Bog, or whatever his name is, the orc.
Bolg. Yeah, the
Bog.
sun. Yeah, yeah.
And there is
Bolg.
no arrows in his quiver. I'm like, what? Seriously, I thought they didn't run out, but he's got
I
nothing
thought
there.
Bolg was a. We got to shut up. We got to do that on the Hobbit thing. I was about to say I thought Bolg was a nastier looking. I thought he would have made a better big bad guy than the other one.
Yeah. And I think we will eventually get to the Hobbit because I'm thinking, just because the movies came later, don't mean we can't talk about them. It's like some other people, bringing up.
Oh, that's right. They're out of the retro thing, aren't they?
Well, it is out of the retro time frame, but let's say for example, Top Gun, great
Mm-hmm.
'80s movie, right? A lot of shows out there who do what we do have talked about the Top Gun, sequel.
Two. Yeah.
I mean, because it's a part of the Top Gun history. Why not go ahead and,
Exactly.
and follow up on it? So there's no reason why we can't later
I
on
agree.
do the Hobbits as well. I don't see no problem with that really. It's just like doing the Harry Potter movies.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the Harry Potter books were written what in the '90s, starting in
Yeah,
the
something like
'90s. I
that.
mean, we could always, and then the first movie was in the early 2000s, I believe.
Yeah.
So we can always pick up on those and talk all the way through them if we wanted to, because they are referencing the older versions of the movies as well and the books they were written off of. So
Indeed.
that's just a thing for us to look forward to in the future. Some extra shows to do, and also some of our extra tidbits
And then
that
I
we
can
never talked
show
about.
off. Then I can show them off my pictures, not just the one that I got signed, autographed. Then I can show off my pictures with Sylvester McCoy, who was Radagast,
Yes, that's
and
pretty
who was
cool.
the I don't remember the fourth Doctor, the sixth Doctor in Doctor Who.
Never watched Doctor Who really, so I can't tell you.
He was one of the Doctors in Doctor Who.
Yeah, so uh, we are at the point now in Helm's Deep where they had told you that the orc ran in, they lit it, they blew up the wall. Orcs are flooding the city now. There at Helm's Deep, they're calling for the people to be called back. Haldir gets in the middle of calling people back, including his elf warriors, gets
Mm-hmm.
killed, which is a kind of a big moment. Aragorn witnesses this. That's one of a friend of his in Haldir. So now he is gone. A lot of elves have died. Haldir has died. Gimli at one point before this happens, does he dive down or does he fall down into a pack of orcs in some water and starts?
He, one of them came at him, and it's like, oh no, wait, I'm thinking of one that we kind of went by that was hilarious. I'm gonna go back for a second. I don't remember whether he fell or not, because when you said that, I immediately went back to the Gundabad, the Warg riders coming in when they were headed to Helm's Deep, and he killed one, and then
Oh, it fell on him.
killed a warg, and the warg fell on him,
Yes, how
and
did we
then
miss that?
another, like, he another
It was
orc or
the orc
something
that
was
was
coming.
riding it. No, the orc that
Yeah, the
was
orc
riding it.
fell on him, and then another warg like stepped up
But
on
but
his
but hold up,
face.
hold up. Don't go too fast with it because this was a hilarious scene.
Oh,
So
it was so
Gimli
good.
Gimli doesn't get much fighting in this one because of what happens. So he kills the war. He's like, "Come on to me, little doggy," or something like that. Come and see my
Yeah,
axe or something,
yeah.
and
Bring
he
your
kills
pretty
it.
face. Bring me your pretty
Yes,
face.
yes, and he falls on top of him. So he's trying to push him off of him, and he's successfully pushing this thing up. And then the orc that was riding him sticks his head over there. They kill Gimli. Gimli
Yeah,
reaches up and stabs his neck, and the orc
yeah,
falls down on top of the warg. So he's trying to
yeah,
push them.
yeah.
He's trying to push them both up,
And
and
then
he's
another
pushing them
warg.
both up. And then another warg puts his paws on top of that one, and it's like, oh no. He's like, I
That was
can't
so
get
good.
this one too. And then Aragorn comes by. Now look, this is why it was so funny. Aragorn comes by and throws a spear in the warg, who falls down on top of him, but he doesn't offer to get him off of Gimli.
Right. Yeah, yeah. So he's got two wargs and an orc laying on him. Two dead
Yes,
wargs and a orc.
yes, but in Hell's Deep, he falls off the side of the wall or jumps down one or the other to take out a pack of them that were all close together. I forget exactly how it went. Aragorn had to jump down there and get him and help free him up, and they got pulled up by a rope by Legolas back up the wall as they're starting to fall back into the.
He might have jumped. He might have
I
jumped.
think he
I
might
think he
have.
did. I can see him going over the edge with his axe up. I think he did jump.
Yeah. So so we got leading up to the point where you like here just a second. They've fallen back to where everything is. The orcs have overrun the area. They're in this one area in this one hall where the door is barricaded, but they're starting to burst their way through there. Uh,
Yeah, they bring in that big old. It looks like a wolf. It's a battering ram, but it looks like a wolf or something. And it's they
yeah,
got
a wolf
fire in
head.
its mouth and stuff. That thing was cool.
Right. Well, the king needs a little bit of help here. He's a few minutes to be able to reinforce the door. And Aragorn's like, "How much time do you need?" He says, "As long as you can give me." So he says, "Come on, Gimli." So they go around the side and come out a side entrance, and they're looking over. Now this goes all the way back to the first movie. Okay,
Right,
we talked about on the last one. They got to jump across while they're in Moria to jump across to where the rocks are breaking to keep going down the pathway,
right.
and someone's gonna just throw Gimli over. And Gimli's like, "Nobody tosses an elf,
A dwarf,
a dwarf.
dwarf.
Nobody tosses a
Yeah,
dwarf." And then he
yeah.
jumps over there and barely makes it. And Legolas grabs him by the beard and holds him and pulls him forward.
Right,
So
yeah,
now we're in this one in Hell's Deep, and he's like, "Oh, come on, Aragorn. There's not that many of them. We can take them." And he's like,
yeah.
"It's a pretty long jump. Can you make it?" He's like,
He
"You're gonna
looks
have
around
to,
the corner.
yeah,
You'll have to. He does it out the corner of his mouth like somebody can see him. You'll have to toss me.
right."
He like looked at him like, what? He's like, just do it. And then like he got ready and he looked up and he
But
goes,
look, when
he
he
goes,
looks at him, it says what? He's got that little half grin going on.
yeah, yeah, Aragorn, yeah, yeah. He
Yeah,
was kind of grinning at him. He's like, just do it. And then like right before he stopped, right, he got was getting ready and he stopped him and he looked up at Aragorn. He's like, don't tell the elf. And he was like,
right.
never.
Not a word.
Yeah, not a word.
So he tosses him over. They start clearing orcs out right and left. They get the door fixed up. He calls him back in. So they're in there now. We're getting to the nitty gritty of it here. It's getting to the point where Theoden looks like he's lost. He
Right.
feels the war is over. He has lost it. He's led his people to death after all. That's what he's feeling. And he's like, what do you do in such times, you know? And the light is starting to come through, and Gimli's like, it's daylight, daylight's coming. And Aragorn remembers, like we said earlier, what Gandalf had said, look to my return on the first light of the third day.
Mm-hmm.
And he
So
says,
Aragorn told him to ride out with me,
right,
and he
right
pumped him
out.
up for it too. He's like, "Yeah," so,
Yeah.
they
He's
him
like,
up for it.
what do you do in times like these? Is to such evil? You ride out and meet it.
Yeah.
You know, ride out with me. Ride out with me. Let's meet it. Then they go out there, and Gimli is on the horn, blowing the horn, you know, signaling that they're about to make this epic move, you know. And they
That was an epic moment too, because like when he blew the horn, it was like a dwarf horn or something. Like it's the horn went out through the whole mountain, like it was just
well, it's a giant horn, and when you see it pan out, it's a giant horn he's blowing
yeah.
into, and it's an epic moment because it gives you that chill up and down your spine because you're hearing the horn blow. You know that then it's like, let this be the moment we draw swords together, and he's like, for Helm's Deep, for this, for that, and then the doors
Hmm.
kick open and they let them in, and they start riding through them and right swinging
And
swords right and left on them.
the scope that you get of this place too, like the perspective, I guess you say, is you know when you see the armies marching in, it's like miles away, like miles, just to get into the valley. Like when you start into the valley, going into the back, you know, uh, where Helm's Deep is, it kind of stops up against the cliff face. You know what I mean, of the mountain ridge. But
Yeah.
it's like it's miles to get into that valley all the way down there. From if you judging from the perspective, so it does give you a feeling that this is enormous. Like it's a crazy huge place and a crazy huge battle.
No, you're right. No, you're right. And then whenever they go out to meet them, and they're out on that little runway, we'll call it, a little bridge like of sorts, and they're riding through with horses, and they're not so much killing them as they are knocking them off the sides because the
Hmm.
horses take up the whole pathway and they're clearing the
Right.
pathway out, knocking them off the sides where they can't
Yep.
get into the castle area, the keep area there, and go after the other people. Um, Suddenly you stop and you look up the hill. And they all look up there, and there's Gandalf at the top of the hill. And this was that no, none of this was the, in my opinion, the most epic part of the movie. And I just thinking about it, I get chills running down my spine.
Right.
And I'm gonna try something here if I can in just a second. Hold on. I'm gonna see if this will work for us.
We have an audio clip.
I don't know if we have an audio clip per se, but we're going to try something. You know, we didn't even begin to talk about the Ents and Isengard, did we?
No,
Was that
we
this
still got
one?
about we still got that. We
I
still got
mean, that was this movie too, wasn't it? They took their war to
yeah, absolutely.
Isengard.
Because when the war at Helm's Deep was won, then Gandalf and everybody went to Isengard.
Right, and so Treebeard had called all his brothers and sisters. He said, we're going to war. We may be going to our death, uh, but
I
you
thought
know,
that was pretty epic too, when they broke the dam and everything.
yeah, he's like, break the dam.
Yeah, we went all the way up to the point where Pippin got a hold of the Looking Glass or whatever they call it, something different. It's I forgot what the doggone thing's called.
The eye of something, I believe.
Yeah, so he got a hold of that.
But that was though he didn't get that until the start of the next movie.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, because they get the battle for Isengard and the battle for Helm's Deep is going on. Whenever the Helm's Deep is over
That's
with, they go
right.
to Isengard, and Merry and Pippin are sitting there at the beginning of the movie when they get there, and they're
Enjoying the fresh
smoking.
spoils of battle.
Right. So we haven't got so, but you
Yeah.
get to see the fight between the Ents and Isengard and the Orcs.
Right,
They're
right.
slinging
Because they
rocks and
said,
stones everywhere and stepping on them and slinging them and hitting them, and
yeah,
they're
because Treebeard said, young Master Gandalf.
yeah,
It's like, it's
young
like
to him.
what? But yeah, that's right. That's right. Because it showed. He said there's a wizard to manage here, so you didn't see. Yeah, that's right. You didn't see the culmination of all that until the next movie, and then but you still have all the stuff that happened with Faramir. You still have Shelob the spider. You still got uh no Faramir's dad. Him going back. That was in Return of the King. Yeah. So where Faramir and them set Sam and Frodo loose.
No, that's at the end of the movie.
Yeah,
Pretty,
that's what I'm
we're,
saying.
we're
We
pretty
still
much
got
at
that
the end of it.
whole yeah.
Yeah.
But in the
So
movie, especially if you're watching the extended version,
yeah,
in the extended version, the battle for Helm's Deep is like an hour before the movie ends. You still got like an
I'm
hour
at
of movie.
the end of it right now. Okay, where they're
Yeah.
going down, they're about to look up at Gandalf. I
Mhm.
am at the 3 hour and 15 minute mark, and there's still 40 minutes left.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The battles for Helm's Deep, there's still another hour of movie.
So I think what happens is that you get a little bit more of the Battle at Isengard before it ends, and then it goes over there where you see those the Nazgul attacking uh the little area, the little outpost there by the
Oh
river.
my god. That's it. It's a town too, and I cannot remember the name of it to save my life. Osgiliath.
Yes, Osgiliath.
So yeah, man, I hate that part of it. Like the Nazgul comes flying up on those little and man, the way that daggum Frodo fought like it and his hair and his feet are like kicked out from under him or something.
Uh,
Uh, it's like the if I could use 90s terminology, it's the aist same thing. Dang, dude, like could you be more not cool?
that's like that's like Chandler from Friends. Can you be more not cool?
Dude, seriously, like I hate that guy.
You are not a fan
I'm
of
glad
Frodo, are
Gollum.
you?
I'm glad Gollum bit his fingers off.
Wow,
No,
that's
yeah,
rough.
I'm really not. I think that Frodo was Sam's test. I think that Frodo was an entitled little B word, and if he wasn't Bilbo's nephew, Bilbo slapped the taste out his mouth. Bilbo was a gangster. Man,
All
you
right.
know what? You know
So,
what I love about that too?
what?
About the Hobbit, where he was about to show him the ring, but then he didn't. But then he was like,
Were you telling me
oh,
he
what
found
was his
something?
name? No, it was yeah, exactly, yeah.
He
But it
said,
was
"I want to tell." He said, "I want to tell you what I found in the mountain,
yeah.
in the troll
What's
area."
my
He says,
guy's
"What did you
name?
find?" He said, I found my courage."
Yeah, but what's my guy's name? Thorin Oakenshield. Thorin.
Yeah, Thorin.
So when Thorin was talking about he didn't have what it takes and this and that and he's like, "You're right. I'm not like you." He said, "I do. I want to be home at my in my bed. I belong at my home." And he was like said all this stuff that like seemed really insulting. And he said,
Uh-huh.
"And that's why I decided to come back because you don't have one." And I was like, "He's like, if I can help you get it back, I'm gonna do anything I can." I was like, "Get him, Bilbo."
And it's funny. It's funny at the end of that movie, the end of the last one, the five armies. At the end of it, Gandalf tells him. He says, "Magic rings shouldn't be used lightly." Bilbo Baggins, don't think I didn't know that you found
Oh
one.
yeah, the whole
He
time,
goes,
yeah,
"I've been watching you the whole time, making sure." And he says, "Well, you know, it fell out back here somewhere in the battle anyway. I lost it anyway." So,
yeah. He knew that
completely
was
lying,
BS.
completely
He
lying.
knew
But
that was
I want to try
BS.
this now. Let's see if this will work for us. Okay.
Okay.
Um, let's see if this will go here. Let me go ahead and hit share screen. Let me put this right here now. Hopefully, let me see if there's another way. No, I don't want to do that. Don't want to do that. Don't want to do that for sure.
Mhm.
No. Okay, let's go back over to here. Then just like that, it's going to be that one. So we're going to attempt to see if we can get this thing about Gandalf coming down the mountain real quick, just to hear this. and how epic it felt when watching it. It's more epic when you watch it, but I mean,
Oh yeah.
it's something else because he has a Aemir with him, and he says, "There's King Theoden standing alone." He says he's not alone, and then he calls for the Rohirrim, and they take off down the mountain. And then when the sun comes up behind them, and they're all screaming their
Mhm.
battle cries, charging in, and then they got the light over their shoulders, over their back, perfectly timed. It's just like wow, you know. So
Yeah.
let's see what this does.
Now for wrath, now for ruin, and the red dawn.
There's that horn.
There's that horn. Yep.
A lot of orcs are pouring in.
Now they're riding out to meet him.
Right. Now they're falling off the sides like bowling balls.
It's like you're bowling right down.
Yeah, they're like bowling
Strike.
pins.
Let's go for the spare.
Got a 7-10 split. Boom, there it was. There
There
it is.
they go. There it is
Domino.
right there. Now you about to see him stop and look up at Gandalf. Look how many orc are left over still.
Right.
Here he goes. You think he's a Lone Ranger?
That right? Hi, old silver. That's Shadowfax he's on, though.
Right.
Theoden King stands alone. Not alone. Rohirrim!
Look how happy he looked. He said, Amen.
Right.
And now here comes the light
And-
that blinds everybody.
Right. And they're going. They're all coming down the hill now in power form. They're just about to mow right through them. But when that light comes over their shoulders, perfectly timed, the orcs can't see. And they
Right.
just start powering right through them, killing them all. And not to get too far into it so we don't get the video banned here or anything.
Ah.
Not trying to have that happen. But I
Right.
mean, not that I'm putting the video up. I may
So-
put some bits and pieces up of it, but I mean not the whole video. I don't think. But
Right.
YouTube might flag us for that. I don't know.
So since we're loving on Gandalf right now, I want to go back and clarify his ring. Remember, it said something about his ring.
Yeah,
His ring actually is one of the 3 elven rings.
right. That's what I was saying earlier. I thought it was one of the 3 they said in the movie.
Yeah, so his ring is actually has a name. It is Nara, and it was gifted to him in 1000 TA or TA 1000, which is the
Third age.
third. Was
I
it
would've
the
thought.
third age? I thought that was the second age.
I don't know. I hear TA. I think third age.
Oh well, yeah, of
Abbreviation.
course, dummy. Yeah, I guess it would be. SA would be second, wouldn't it? So, but anyway, upon his arrival, Círdan, who was one of the gods that was below, I don't remember all the names. Morgoth. So he was on the level with Morgoth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who Sauron is a servant of. But he gave him the ring to aid him in his treasure in his labors. So would it be? Yeah, it'd have to be third age, because that don't make no sense if it ain't. But anyway, remember, you watched the new program, and I think Doogie Howser's drunk cousin played Celebrimore in it, and was friends with Galadriel. Celebrimore was the greatest smith in history as far as the elves were
Right.
concerned. So Celebrimore actually made Nara, which was Gandalf's ring, he made that in secret, but it was still uh, bound to the One Ring. So the three Elven rings couldn't. They were not made as weapons of war, but made to heal. So that's what that was. I just thought it was cool. His ring. I found out about his ring. So, but yeah. So Celebrimor made it because Celebrimor. Remember, Sauron tricked them all. So Celebrimor actually helped them. Sauron, Ninya, and Vilya make the rings in the Second Age.
I
I
don't
know that
remember.
was a lot. I know that was a lot.
I remember watching. No, it's just that. See, I don't know as much about the lore as you do when it gets that deep. And I remember
Well,
watching I remember watching the whole thing on Amazon. And I liked it. And like I know you didn't, but I liked it.
yeah.
But I don't remember it. I have to go back and rewatch all this to get more of the names and stuff out of it and all.
Mhm.
But it was I knew he had that ring on from watching the Hobbit uh trilogy, and they were trying to cut that ring. They were going to cut his whole finger off with the ring
Right.
and take it from him. And they said it was
Yeah,
one
but
of the three Elven
there was
rings.
another thing that I read too. That was the thing about the ring too. And they said that that's why when what was it that whenever he passed, he inspired uh, hope and courage in men during the siege at Minas Tirith,
Yeah,
the battle for Gondor. Because
right.
okay, so we didn't mention that. So when we're talking about Gondor, Minas Tirith is actually the castle in the city of Gondor. So yeah, so Minas Tirith. But that's what the ring has the power to inspire others, resist tyranny, and we think it had um, the power of fire because that's when there's no other mention of how he would have the flame of honor. Because remember when he was saying he called Durin's Bane flame of Udun, and he said, "I am the wielder of the flame of honor," and that's when he turned blue. Remember, he stomped and he turned like
Right.
blue flames around him.
Right.
Yeah, so we're thinking that came from the ring as well.
Could very well have. So
Sorry, I didn't mean to go off on that
we
tangent. I just
no. But we're
I
going to
nerd
go.
out sometimes.
I know, and there's so much more we could talk about, but we're going to wind this down here shortly. We're at an hour and 37 minutes.
Holy cow!
But I mean, we knew like we said last time, when it comes to Lord of the Rings, it's so hard to go, you know, an hour because you lose so much in translation. You don't get to talk about hardly any of it
Yeah.
in there. So I want to throw a few key things out before we do go today.
Mm-hmm.
The budget of this movie was $94 million estimated. That's a large budget for a
That's a
movie.
big old budget.
But I mean, they did fairly well opening weekend. I mean, they did opening weekend USA and Canada. They did $62 million.
A lot of
62
money.
million 7,528. Now that doesn't cover your budget, but that's opening weekend. This movie
Yeah.
was out for a while. How
Mm-hmm.
much money, unless I'm sure you've looked it up before, do you know gross worldwide made on this movie?
On this movie,
This movie.
I'm gonna say an easy 100 million.
It's easily times more. Nine
Yeah,
hundred
about
forty-seven million nine hundred
yeah, almost a
forty-four thousand
billion.
two hundred $270.
Yeah,
Almost $1 billion in this movie that was made worldwide while it was out to theaters. That is
that's
awesome on its
that's
own. The runtime was 2 hours and 59 minutes. And like you said, with the extended scenes, it's like practically another hour, a little bit less than an hour added on to it in extra footage.
yeah. That's I mean, when they doggone when I remember when the movies come out, we were all complaining because it's like the 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Yeah,
Dang, this one was 3 hours.
I wasn't complaining. I
You
loved
know,
it.
oh no, me neither. But I mean, like, but that's what I'm saying. You know, you had, okay, so all three movies basically, you could call all three movies 3 hours. Just go ahead and call them 3 hours. Well, when the extended editions came out, all three movies were like 4 hours.
Yes, it's
Yes,
crazy. Did you know? compared to now you read the books,
Yeah.
so you may know this, you may not remember it or whatever.
Mhm.
I'm reading some of the fun fact things now for a second. That
Yeah.
says when Frodo and Sam were in Osgiliath, Sam says, "By rights, we shouldn't even be here."
Right.
This was a nod to the deviation the screenplay had taken from the book storyline, because in the book, Sam and Frodo never passed through Osgiliath.
Right.
It's like it just didn't happen at all.
Yeah. There are huge differences.
It,
Like I went back and looked at some of the differences and didn't realize that there is a lot of stuff that's very different.
yes, the battle at Helm's Deep was edited down from 20 hours of footage. They had 20 hours of footage for the Battle of Helm's Deep.
Yeah, by alone. Yeah. That's
Oh,
what I'm
it's
saying.
shot over a 4 month period.
There's there's 20 to 60 hours on the like the DVDs that you picked up and showed me a while ago, or like the original extended editions. There's like 20 between 20 and 60 hours per movie of extras.
Oh yeah, it's quite a bit. I mean, let's see what else we got here.
It'll
The Battle of Helm's Deep, 4 months to shoot, 3 months at night, and 1 month during the day. Andy Serkis said he based Gollum's desperation and cravings on the withdrawals of heroin addicts.
You say what? Repeat that one now.
Andy Serkis said he
Yeah.
based Gollum's desperation and cravings on the withdrawals of heroin addicts.
Dang. I can see that. I can see that.
um, he also says he drank bottles of what he referred to as Gollum juice, a mixture of honey, lemon, and ginger to keep his throat lubricated for his intense vocal performances.
That's wild.
That was something, though. I mean, you know.
Yeah.
Well, there's so many things in here that we could bring up in these fun facts and talk about, but we got, like I said, that would take us a whole another hour to go through. I'm sure. Uh, this is just way too many things.
The Lord of the Rings trilogy that brought with Lord with the I'm sorry, that's including the Hobbit,
Yes.
and they earned the Hobbit earned nearly 3 billion globally, but that brought the franchise to
And
$5.9 billion.
see, I wonder. Okay, I don't know if we know how much the main people like Viggo Mortensen, um, um, well, I'm drawing a blank on Legolas's name.
Lord have mercy. Me
Um,
too.
Pirates of the Caribbean, this as
Yeah, I
well.
know. That's sad.
John Rice Davies playing Gimli, Sir
Hmm.
Ian McKellen,
Hugo
you know,
Weaving.
Hugo Weaving, all these main characters. How much do they get paid to do the movie, and how much do they get in residuals from what it
Yeah,
from what the money from what the movies made overall between ticket sales at the office, DVD sales, showings on movie channels and TV. What's their deal? Did they get a deal with any kind of residuals for when it shows?
yeah.
Because writers get residuals.
Just a quick look up or just a quick Google of Vigo
Or
Mortensen LOTR salary is basically what I typed in. It says according to two sources, um, 40 million is what he's made off of the movies.
wow, Orlando Bloom was the other name, by the way.
Orlando Bloom,
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know. I couldn't think
Kate
of that.
Kate Blanchett. One more real quick. One more real quick before we go. The theatrical versions of the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit trilogies have a total runtime of 558 minutes, which is 9 hours and 18 minutes. That's for LOTR, and then 475 4 minutes, which is 7 hours and 54 minutes for
Man,
the Hobbit. Okay, the extended editions. This is what I. It's been so long. I was telling Chris the other day. It's been so long since I have watched the theatrical versions I don't even remember what's not in them because I only watch the extended editions now. The extended editions, the extended edition. We'll do the Hobbit first this time. The Hobbit is 532 minutes. It's 8 hours and 52 minutes. So that's another hour on top of the trilogy, which you can break that up to what 33. Wouldn't that be no 60 minutes? That'd be 13 minutes per, 15 per, whatever.
No, about
So
20 per.
22 minutes per. And then the Lord of the Rings trilogy has a runtime of 686 minutes, which is 11 hours and 26 minutes from 9 hours and 18 minutes.
Do you think you could pull an all-nighter, start in the morning and go all night long to the next day and watch all of them straight through?
Oh, absolutely. I've done all 6. I've done all 6 in a weekend.
But I'm talking about just, I don't mean the weekend. I mean not going to sleep one after the other. Could you pull that off?
Yeah, I could do a trilogy.
No, not a trilogy. Not a trilogy. I'm talking about start with The Hobbit, work your way through that, then start Lord of the Rings immediately and start working your way through.
That'd be 19 hours. And that's 8. That's 20. That's 22. It's something like 21 hours, 22. Yeah, heck yeah, I could. I'm going to do it. We'll stream it.
I'm going to throw the gauntlet down one day soon. We'll see what happens.
Let's do it. And we'll do it like Mystery Science Theater, man. I'll sit there and commentate the whole time.
If only we could get away with that and stream it. Reaction video from Retro Life for You of all the LOTR and Hobbit movies.
Yeah, all we had to do is just like mute it here and there and then pause it or like jiggle it, fast forward it.
Something. We'll figure something out.
That's right.
All right. We're going to go ahead and wrap this up. I hate to do it. Just so
I'm
you guys
starving.
know.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm starving.
Just so you got, well, me too, actually. I got to eat my late.
And I had nothing to eat but maggoty bread for 3 stinking days.
I hate you. Oh my God. Okay. Where was I at? I done lost where I was at again. Oh, I was gonna say, just so you guys know, we're gonna do Return of the King soon, and it's gonna go just as long. So just be prepared ahead of time to dig your heels in for an extra hour probably, because Return of the King's coming soon. And that's gonna be a lot to talk about in there. So we hope that all of you who do like Lord of the Rings listened all the way through with us and you enjoyed the show. And that if you have anything that you want to put out there, any points you want to make, or tell us what your favorite scene was, your favorite battle, whatever the case may be, let us know. Send me an email, retroliferyou@gmail.com. If you go to where the podcast is hosted at anchor.fm/retroliferyou, you can go there. There's a way that you can leave a voice message actually on there, and you can let me know at that point, and I will put it on the next on the podcast for Return of the King that we do. If you put something on there for us to hear, we'll add that. We'll add that to it. Yeah, it's a pretty cool feature they have right there, and they're getting better with more stuff all the time. I keep saying I'm going to leave there and go somewhere else, but they're currently making it tough for me to make that decision with the new things that have come out and what's to come too. So I don't know. We'll see how that goes. But right now, though, you're able to do that. Keep in mind we are at Instagram and Facebook and TikTok, all at Retro Life for You. And I'm actually on Twitter, but I mean, I only use it for posting here and there and trying to reach out to people that I get come on the show when I can. So I wouldn't look for us on Twitter really. It's not even at Retro Life for You when I do it. It's something else. I renamed it Retro Life for You, but it won't pull up with that for whatever reason. That being said, of course, you know where to find us. We're on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Anchor.fm, iHeartRadio, Amazon, Google, all the fun places where you're going to find all your fun podcasts. When you get a moment, listen to some of the shows, take a moment at the end of it and leave us a review and a rating if you would. iTunes and Spotify give you the option of leaving like 5-star ratings. And iTunes goes a bit further and lets you leave a small review. It can be just a few words, a line, a small paragraph, whatever you want to write on there. And it does help boost the podcast up because it gets us noticed and it puts us in the rankings. I just got an email earlier, funny enough, talking about rankings. I want to bring this up because whoever you are in Chile who's listening to us, thank you very much. We appreciate you guys all the way, Travis,
Yeah.
in Chile. And
Really?
we
Nice.
are ranked there currently in their category of TV and film. We have broken the rankings there, and I don't know how deep it goes, but we're at position 109 in the category TV and film in Chile.
No
So,
kidding. Well, y'all
who?
can't see us, but we're video streaming as well. So video high five, bro.
That's right. So who knows? Who knows how deep that goes? It may just go to 110 for all I know, and we just got in there. But
I know they got
you
them
know,
lithium mines in Chile.
I made the point a few weeks back when me and you were on here that other countries are picking us up. New Zealand and is one of them we're in where this movie was filmed a lot of. There's Chile right there. Great Britain's picking us up there. We're heard in Canada. We got some people in Canada who are listening, and of course, the biggest fan audience is in the United States. But that's where we're basically transmitting from, basically. So I mean, I'd expect that. But thank you to everybody and anybody who listens and shares our stuff and talks to other people about it and all this good stuff. We really appreciate it, and I hope you continue to be with us as our journey keeps going forward. So,
Heck yeah. Keep on listening. Keep on listening habitually.
habitually, on that note, right there, we are going to have to leave for Travis comes up with another one. See you
Hey,
later.
what's Gandalf's favorite band? The Eagles.
Oh my God! Bye, everybody.